Are you helping me? Are you helping me build the truck? You gonna help me? Look at me. Hi, Papa. Whose truck is this? That's Humpty. Say hi, buddy. Alright guys, here we are in the Special Vehicle Team's garage here at Ford Truck Nuts Garage, and we're working on Humpty, the F100 that I have decided to chop up. 19, apologize for the noise, that is keeping me cool. It's a 1969 F100 that I bought bobbered up in the front. And where we're at right now is I've measured about 100,000 times, and it's about time to glue this thing back to the back of the truck. So you can see I have just about every leveling / measuring device that I own out. But what we've done is made sure the front edge of this frame is still level. That's what we started out with. I've made sure this cross level is level. You can see I've had to use a little spacer to keep it off that cross member. And I've also cross measured from the front part of the frame to this bolt hole, and the same thing on that side. I got 59 1/4, I believe, to this one, and about 80 1/8 to the back edge, which I haven't cleaned up those cuts, but that's 4 inches off of each edge of the back of the frame. And we've taken 16 inches out of the center. That's a 6-inch Z with about a 1 1/4 inch radius. And you can see I've got it started to bevel it. What I'm going to do is start at the top where I'm happy with it and work my way down with clamps and C-clamps as we go. And each step of the way I'm going to go ahead and recheck all these for level. I've also done level across this, level across here, level across that bar. This frame rail is a little bit bent, but you can average level that, and across the back edge. So once you're just about sick of measuring, measure some more so that you don't regret it later, and go ahead and start tacking the frame together. So what I'm going to do is probably tack in about 2 or 3 places. Pretty good tacks that are good enough to be structural, but I'm going to go ahead and test fit the bed one more time while I have a chance at changing this. So what I hope to gain out of this is the old eyeball approval when you stand back and look at it. Now, once again, remember these back two cab mounts usually settle in different places, so it's really hard to use the body as your guide. But as you can see, I actually have shims on the back of this level to make this level before we drop the back half of the frame off. That way I had some sort of reference, at least eyeball level in the middle. So that way start out level here, level across. We're repeating the exact same steps, and it just takes a lot of patience. You go in here and shim it with whatever you got. I used, what did I use? Oh, and a bunch of used up cut-off wheels that I'm saving for God knows what project. But shimmed some chunks of wood under my short low jack stands, and have been able to get it this close to where I'm bust out the old Miller-Matic 185. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention, I got a couple tacks in before I remembered myself, which is cover the glass. Blanket's not really ideal, especially if it's got any grease or oils on it, because it could catch on fire, but that's what I had laying around for this. I'm doing my tacking with, I started out with 465, and it seemed to put a little too much down, so I backed it off. I usually like to go over on the power level setting and under on the wire feet when I'm tacking, and that way it gets a good burn in. Good strong weld. but where we're at is basically mirrored each tack. I started with this one, went to that side, did the same thing, came over here. This was still touching, which is a good spot to weld because then it doesn't shrink the frame forward or anything. Same thing on the other side. Came back over, did the bottom tack, went ahead and moved the seat clamp, straighten this out, do the tack, and what I'll probably end up doing is tacking about here, inside edge of that bottom frame rail, and then it's basically not going to move off of those tacks, so I can start laying some strong structural welds down without it warping on me too much. So the way I had luck on my past truck was I was able to keep no warpage by basically doing Siamese, mirror whatever weld you do on this side to that side, and that allows cooling times and stuff to keep all the stresses and strains equal on the chassis. That way you're not like pulling to this side too much or vice versa. So just be methodical. I'm not a welding expert, but I've done enough over the years to kind of work my way through it. So there we go. Also, one cool thing to mention about the way this Z-Tech came out is two of the frame holes end up just about tangent to each other on that cut, and those two holes are the ones that actually show you the center of the 6-inch frame. We can come over here on this side and see the same thing. Just gives you a little extra insurance that you're on the right track. Got a few welds on there. Again, working my way back and forth on both sides. The bottom edge is going to be the most difficult because that's where I have the biggest gap. Not the prettiest welds ever, but I think they're going to hold. I'm getting a good heat signature around the weld and back side as well. Tough to see. So, working my way through it slowly. Okay, as usual, I got carried away and welded it up. Some of these welds I'm not the happiest with, but like we got penetration. Probably going to weld the back side a little bit just to give myself some insurance. But for the most part, I'm really happy nothing tweaked out of place or did any weird tweaking, so I think it's going to be good, guys. We got a Shortbed. Alright guys, another toasty Phoenix afternoon. Actually, it's morning still for lunch, but you can see I'm still on my first shirt. Not too bad for the day, but what we're working on. So, truth be told, I got a little hasty on the welding and didn't prep on the backside good enough. Got some bubbles that were bothering me, so I went ahead and took my time and sanded some of the bad welds back and re-welded the whole back side of this. Is basically going to be just a cap weld, but just to make sure that I have the most strength I can. Really, all I really needed was the back side of this top weld because I was grinding most of that completely off, and I went ahead and knocked down the rest of this. Not the best welder, but you know, I get by. But you can see we've welded all the way up and around this, and went ahead and did the back side as well, just to get as much structural weld out of that Z as possible. And again, I'm not going to be boxing this because that's enough weld to be structural. So 6 inches Z. That's the same as I did on my truck out there. It hasn't fallen apart yet, so I'm doing all right. What I'm getting ready to do here is weld the saddles onto the axle. I ended up getting a real good deal on these saddles. I guess Speedway sells them. Neighbor of mine had them. He sold them to me cheap, but I guess they're about 20 bucks new. So what I'm going to do is prep the surface under here, get ready to be able to tack these back on. Alright, to get these saddles prepped, I just have to knock the rust off of the axle. And these had like a little weird stamping imperfection. You can see I didn't even get all the way down right there, but that was preventing it from saddling properly. So I got those 4 corners knocked down on both of these, and then now I'll flip it over and get it leveled, and from the top side being a reference, top side saddle, original saddle reference, these will be level as well, and then we'll tack them on. Alright, now that I've got them tacked on there, made sure they were square, made sure they were centered, I flipped it up so I can go ahead and weld each side of the saddle. We'll be ready to put this back on. Okay, got those on there pretty good. One other thing we need to do here is mark the holes for the top edge of the bed. So what I did is, it's an equal piece of the frame, so here's the piece we lopped off this side. I flipped it over to upside down so I can get a nice clean trace. And you can see I haven't really cleaned up the back edge of this frame yet. Even beat on it a little bit when I was trying to square up the frame, but basically set it right here and mark your hole, and probably go through that with a step bit. It's a pretty good size hole. Okay, so we've got the back holes drilled. Chamfer the top edge of the frame. Look at the bottom, get it off. And then what I've done is I've taken the piece of frame that we cut off of the back, and I've used 2 pry bars, one on each side, and just bent it back out a couple degrees. Made 2 of them that matched, and then I went ahead and this is easier than using a Sharpie. Do a little paint action, and then you can use that as your cut line. Alright, now that I got these first cuts close to all the way cut across, I have a start. I try to keep the blade as perpendicular to the surface as I could. Now I can take this straight edge and another piece of straight stock and mark the rest of these holes. And what I plan on doing is actually not cutting this bent part yet, because I'm going to straighten that back out on both of these edges. That way I can keep some of that strength, but the problem is you can't just cut it straight across, because by the time you bend this up you'll have a crooked cut. So I'm trying to address that when I get to it. Okay, so here is our recycled piece of Z cut from the frame, right? So what we did is mark 30 degrees there and there. Then from our halfway mark, which is where I use to start the Sawzall, 90 there. And then wherever it crosses down here, this is where we're going to split this upper edge. What happens is we're going to level this just like the frame's level. I already checked there's enough clearance for this. We're going to pie cut this edge, and then I'm going to mark this bottom edge and spray paint the back side. Get our final cut for the up and over the frame there, and then we'll be ready to weld this brace onto the frame and be done with the C-notch. Okay, where I'm ending it off for tonight is I've got my pie cuts made. I've got my bottom cuts made, and all I have to do is spray the back side of the bracket with spray paint, and then start stitching my way around. I've had enough cutting for one day. Alright, now that we have the bracket all cut with our it's like about 1/4 of an inch out of this side up to our mark that if you follow down this way, and about 3/8 on this side, what I'm choosing is to use this hole as my lineup feature, and we're just going to cover that up, or just about cover it, and that makes the distance between where we cut on the frame pretty even, about what you see there, where that line is. And then what I'm going to do is level the bubble level here, and then I'm going to mark around all the way around this, and then shoot some spray paint on the back side so I can get a mark of what we're going to need to cut out to match the C-notch, which is what I've already done on this one. Okay, so another hot sweaty day here in Phoenix. Real humid because it's monsoon time. Yeah, on the back side we've got it a little bit of paint just to keep it from rusting, and I've also sanded where all the holes are so we can plug weld that to the frame. We're going to end up having to do a little more finish sanding to get this plate to line up, but it's real close, as you can see. Prepped all those sides, and what I'm working on right now is that little cross hatch is where we're going to drill the hole so that this bump stop can line back up. Alright, so we got those holes drilled, and bump stops are going to fit. What I'm probably going to do is cut a section out of this to relieve a little bit of our travel. These things are so old and dry, they're not really much of a bump stop anyhow, so taking away some of that rubber is not really going to make it bump any less, but it will give us more travel. One other thing I forgot to mention is I trimmed about 1/4 inch off this one edge here, and I just lined it up with the tangent edge of that hole. This is off our original 4-inch section of the frame here, and then rounded this side because that's going to meet up with a section of the frame that's a little shorter, but overall it's going to fit in here something like that, and give us a nice V bevel to weld into and really burn it in. Just about to weld this gusset on here, and you can see the amount of cutting and grinding is real. I've flipped this up 2 or 3 times, but that's mainly metal left on the ground. It takes a lot of patience to get through this, but keep your head up and keep pushing, and you'll do it. Okay, you can see both sides are tacked on now. I used average this hole out mentality and kept that level with a little small level. Now I've tacked around the perimeter. Got those tacked. I've got there's a plug weld right there done. Got one stitch on that plug, and I'll come around that one. The same thing over here. Now what we're going to do is start working this ear down on both sides and tack as we go. So it'll probably be tap, tap, tap that one. Maybe we'll get over here, and then make sure that bevel's good enough to weld. Work our way down around, and then we can start stitching the whole thing together and start working towards getting the C-notch piece in and start welding in. It's looking really good. Now we can start working the bottom edge of this for the C-notch panel to go inside there. And we're getting really close. A little bit more burning to do. Okay, now we're looking good. Fully welded all the way around the perimeter and inside and out on the C-notch. So you can see on that side, all the way around the inside and around the bottom as well. So now I'm just going to squirt some paint on it and get ready to put this thing back together.